Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is Bram again. This is for Unit 5 for Smith's Protestants, Catholics, and Jews in Germany from 1800 to 1914. This historical time period is extremely fascinating and largely relevant to the military European history that I myself study, especially since the late 19th century Europe is the precursor to the First World War, which is the war that I center all of my research time, free time, and attention to, especially with the unification of Germany in 1871. That is really my core, right? I noticed that most histories of Europe start nationalism as late as either like Bismarck's unification of Germany in 1871 or even the First World War in 1914, right? A whole war that was centered around the concept of nationalism and fighting for one's nation and so on and so forth. However, this study changes how historians analyze German nationalism and religion. At least it changed me as a historian and how I interpret it. Even earlier than 1800, as his book title suggests, this work reveals the legacy of Swedish military hero Gustavus Adolphus, and he derives from the late 16th and early 17th centuries during the 30 Years' War. So that was a really interesting just reference there, right? And as I've said in previous videos, I think it's important to really thoroughly analyze the origins of an idea because its roots existed long before the set historical date, which never really exists the more you study history, of course. World War I, for example, was a conflict that revolved around nationalism. Sorry, I already said that. Kind of going out of order here. So the ideas of the German nation in particular did not commence in 1871, right? Smith argues that the argument spawned in the early 19th century, or even before that. So whether it was fighting France in the Napoleonic or Franco-Prussian wars, or slowly expelling the idea of a Catholic liberal Germany, Germany's nationalism became an instigator for a good chunk of their policy advancements, right? This book also shows the link of nationalism to religion, right? Of course, this is a religious histories course. So despite the fact that the German nation grew more Protestant and solidified its traditional conservative core, there did remain a large Catholic base in the territories that maintained its influence in the face of a growing Protestant government. Although it was a small coalition compared to the conservative majority, local liberal magistrates and city councilors fought back, especially in the wake of Jewish oppression. In the case of Breslau, where the Catholics within the city opposed pluralist schools, and then of course the liberals that wanted to allow Jewish teachers to be hired, clearly there is an interaction between Protestants, Catholics, and Jews that cannot be restricted to just a feud all the way going back to the 30 Years' War or an anti-Semitic origin story, right, that spawns probably near towards the Enlightenment period. In many instances, local conflicts appeared within the nationalistic macrocosm, so it's way more complicated than history has given it credit for.